Here it goes. Am I live? All right, folks, we're live. Welcome to Wednesday Carnivore Night School. I'm John Laspina, the carnivore teacher. Tonight, our topic is carnivore too expensive? All right, this is Thanksgiving week, and everybody's going out shopping. I was at the store today and yesterday getting a couple of things, and it's a madhouse out there. I went to like 2 different stores, and the parking lots are jammed. You'd think it was Thanksgiving week or something, right? Oh, it is. Okay. So before we talk about our topic, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll go around and do the round so you guys can introduce yourselves to the audience. And audience, anybody who's listening, please tell us where you're from in the comments and type your comments and questions, and we'll address them and talk to them and post them if you'd like. So I have a YouTube channel that I started because I changed my way of eating from the standard American diet, which I ate for, 53 years of my life. And during those 53 years, maybe it was 54 years, I went on many different types of diets to lose weight as I gained weight from time to time, especially now that I'm almost 60 years old. Lots of weight gained and lost over the years. And I always put it back on, because when you go on a diet, there's a start and there's a finish, and you go back to eating what you ate before. So the very last thing I tried about 6 years ago coming up was the ketogenic diet. Didn't know what it was. I learned little by little by watching YouTube videos, influencers, doctors telling me about my macronutrients, micronutrients, and how to eat. I never was taught about real nutrition. The only nutrition I learned was the food pyramid and the My Plate. And I had to have so many servings of fruits and vegetables, because that's where all your vitamins and minerals are, or else you're going to get sick if you don't have enough. And we heard that over and over again, that cholesterol was bad, that butter was bad, eggs were bad, all the things that the messages are still out there, actually. And so this way of eating, I learned that to have a certain, moderate protein, high healthy animal fat, and very low to no carbohydrates. And I lost 35 pounds easily. And then I noticed that my lower back pain disappeared, and I noticed my skin got better. And most importantly, my emotions, I wasn't depressed anymore. I wasn't moody. I was a roller coaster. You talk to anybody who knows me, I was an up and down roller coaster of emotions. I was happy, but I was also sad a lot. And this leveled me out, because I wasn't on the insulin sugar roller coaster. I was leveled out, and my brain was loving the ketones as I became fat adapted. So that's what I did. And I eased into ketovore a year later, and then I eased into carnivore very slowly 3 years after that. So I have been a carnivore coming on 2 years, low carb for 6 years almost, and I'm not going back. I can't go back. It's like ringing the bell. Once you understand and grasp and have the knowledge, you don't want to go back. I don't want to eat the food that made me feel like crap. I don't want to eat the food that made me heavy. I don't want to eat that food that gave me lower back pain because it was inflammation from all the seed oils I found out. So that's why I'm here and making my YouTube channel, so I can pass this knowledge on. I make lessons every day. They're 5 to 7 minutes long. I put them on YouTube. Sometimes they're shorter. And that's what I do. I'm a retired middle school teacher, and I'm now teaching online. And every Wednesday I come on here. I also make a song that some people think is good. Some people laugh at me, but I put on a carnivore song every Wednesday. I'm going to have the next 3 carnivore songs will be Christmas related, so you can look for that. And that's me in a nutshell. A lot more. I could talk for 4 hours, as you guys can too, about how eating properly has helped you. But let's hear about you, Rick. For anybody who doesn't know who you are, tell us who you are.
If anybody doesn't know who I am, they haven't been watching YouTube, because I've been interviewed by pretty much every carnivore channel, every channel that I would consider a good carnivore channel. And I'm regularly on some of the best live streams. And people would think of me as the 40-year carnivore, the 41-year carnivore. It's I started in 1983. I did it as a form of protest, and I was hoping to get a heart attack so I wouldn't have to spend my time. I could get out of high school and just have people, take care of me. I don't have to be picked on anymore or whatever. But the carnivore diet actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I've gone my whole life, except for the 7 months when I tried to go plant based to try to prove everybody wrong. But I've spent most of my life without any major health issues. I've never been obese. I really don't look that much different than when I was in my 20s. So the carnivore diet has just been a lifestyle for me. And I'm unique because I am the tallest carnivore. I am the male that's been carnivore the longest. I never really told anybody about my diet except when they ate with me. And I was always known as a picky one because I don't like to eat anything. There's a lot of foods I don't even know what they were. I didn't discover what an eclair was until about 10 years ago. And then I looked at that nasty thing and I was like, ew, people actually eat this garbage?
Yeah.
And my parents used to give me oatmeal, which I hated. I used to throw it out the window. And anytime I wanted to get rid of something I didn't like, I'd look for some of our Muscovy ducks that were roaming around. I'd throw it to them, let them eat it. So I called all the non-carnivore foods duck food. And again, so whenever you talk about heart attack foods, because that's what I call my food, because Time magazine said, and I think it was in 1984, that if you eat a lot of cholesterol, you're going to get a heart attack. And some people said that eating one egg was like smoking 2 cigarettes. So I was, for a while, eating a dozen eggs a day until they became expensive. So you could say I was on a pack a day habit. In fact, if you look around here, see, yeah, you can always find some egg cartons. So, I have that really bad habit, although now I'm down to 3 eggs a day because of the expense. But yeah, when it comes to the carnivore community, I'm unique because I've never tried to force anybody to be carnivore. I am a very enthusiastic gardener. I grow fruits and vegetables. I don't eat them myself unless I have nothing else to eat, but I enthusiastically give them to my vegan and omnivore friends. And I enjoy the compliments that I get for growing wholesome, natural, pesticide free vegetables and fruits. Now, that doesn't mean that they go without bad effects because my vegan friends have to deal with gas and all kinds of aches and pains and problems. But, if it comes from my fruits and vegetables, it's not my responsibility. And besides, when I have my ducks around or the neighborhood chickens, they like to eat the fruits and vegetables. So that's just the way I am. And I'm not a serious one. I'm not making any money off of this. I haven't made a penny in 17 years of YouTube. So I just come here to share my experience and let everybody know that even a quack like me can survive on the carnivore diet.
Okay, so my name is Peter, aka Papa Carnivore. I've been miscalculating how long I've been carnivore. February 1st, 2023. So Rick, I think by my calculations, December 1st will be 22 months. I've been telling people 19 months. So I'm coming up on 2 years in February. I started as, well, let me back up. I had always been thin as a kid. And then I, over time started gaining weight. And I tried all these diets and yo-yoed. And I finally got up to about 300 pounds. This is in 2022. And I was pre-diabetic and I had high blood pressures, taken 3 different medicines for that. I was taking omeprazole for terrible acid reflux. So bad I thought I was even having a heart attack because of the reflux. I had depression, anxiety. I always suffered with ADHD. I had terrible arthritis in my knees and my back, so bad I could barely walk across the room. I thought I needed 2 metal knees, Rick. It was terrible. And at 300 pounds, I mean, I could barely walk up and down steps 1 step at a time like I was 80 years old. Which it's amazing. You see me now. No one can believe that. But 2 years ago, I was a different person. Well, it was January of 2023. Went to the doctor for I have to take a thyroid pill. I'm hypothyroid, and they always do my blood. And they took my A1C, and I guess they had taken it back in August, so about 6 months before that. So she's doing, the nurse is saying, hey, so what's this? What's that? What do you take for this? She goes, what do you take for your diabetes? I said, I don't have diabetes. She goes, oh, yeah, you're full-blown diabetic. I said, really? What are you talking about? And I said, since when? She said, oh, last August of 2022, when you did your annual exam, your A1C was like 8. No one told me. Here I am. It's now January. I've been stuffing my face with sugar. God knows what damage I had done. Anyway, I found Dr. Berry. I decided I'm going to figure something out. Give me 6 months, diet, exercise. I'm going to, before you put me on, any medicine, found Dr. Berry's video called Reverse Diabetes. It's a very popular video. And that started the whole thing. And I was like, well, this sounds crazy. But I was reading the comments, and all the comments were just so amazing. So I started keto, then I went ketovore, and within about a month and a half, I went carnivore, and I haven't looked back. I've lost 100 pounds, 101 pounds. I'm now 199. I was 300. All of my conditions I mentioned are gone, and I'm off all medicine. I absolutely feel amazing. I walk 5 miles every day. Amazing. So I really hope that people will really seriously consider this lifestyle.
That's why we're here. We're here to, people. How did I hear about it? How did you hear about it? Dr. Berry, who's online. Rick's a little different story. But I found people online. I listened to Thomas DeLauer was actually the first guy. He's kind of gone other places lately, but he was the first guy who stood at a whiteboard and started explaining what it was. I was getting an education on how to eat with the correct macros. That was my first couple of videos. And then from there, I saw Dr. Berry videos, Dr. Anthony Chafee videos. I'm currently really enjoying Professor Ben Bickman is really teaching me a lot. Dr. Robert Stiver.
You watched Sten Ekberg?
Sten Ekberg, he's very keto, not so much carnivore. A couple of them, like Dr. Berg, Eric Berg, Sten Ekberg, they talk a lot about how important it is to have vegetables and fiber. So I don't listen to their videos as much because I disagree with them on that. I don't believe fiber is necessary at all, and that vegetables they have more anti-nutrients that can harm you than any of the nutrients that might get through the fiber and anti-nutrients that can help you. So when I used to watch them a lot, I kind of backed off a little bit because I try to find the common denominator among all of my influencers and doctors, and they all have it, right? And so I still like Dr. Ekberg. I really do. He has these really long videos, and it's a lot of good information. So my topic today is the carnivore diet too expensive? I get that a lot from people that I talk to on Twitter or Facebook when we have a little chat in the rooms about carnivore. You can tell it's a newbie and they're asking questions. Isn't that too expensive? Or somebody said they tried it and they spent hundreds of dollars and can't afford it. And so I have to explain that it's actually, I don't know about you guys, I'd love to hear from you and anybody in the comments. I'm actually saving money from when I used to eat the standard American diet. So my first question that I want to throw out there is, what would you say is the most budget-friendly animal products? And in our area, we're all Floridians on the screen right here, 2 Boca guys and 1 Miami guy. So I'll start, and then we'll go over to Rick. So right now is budget-friendly time. I find, at least in our area here in West Boca Raton, I go to Publix, I go to Sprouts, I go to Fresh Market, I go to Winn-Dixie. They're opening up another Whole Foods, which is kind of expensive, but I buy certain things at certain stores because they're cheaper at different stores. And it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, so the prime ribs, the standing rib roasts are on sale. All right, I just bought 3 of them. 2 of them are now in my deep freeze. 1 of them we're smoking on our Traeger grill tomorrow. We're smoking a standing rib roast, a prime rib. Can't wait. As a treat. And that's basically the only thing that's on the table because we are carnivores. Don't really need the side dishes. And I'm not going to poo-poo anybody who enjoys their side dishes, but as a carnivore, I don't see the need for them. It's just fluff. It's extra. If you want to have them and they're vegetables, in my mind, it's not for nutrition. It's just to give you color and texture. That's my belief. So I'm just going to eat my fatty, oh my God, I love it. I'm talking about, I can visualize it right now. My fatty, rare prime rib until I'm basically stuffed. And I know I'm not going to want anymore. I'm kind of excited. So they're on sale during the holidays at my local Publix. Different times, I always go right to the meat department, and sometimes there's a sale. They're like, okay, ribeyes today are on sale. They're, $10 a pound, which is steep, but normally they're like $18 to $20 a pound. Or they'll say, hey, New York strips are $7 a pound. Ground beef is $3 a pound. You find the sales and you buy a whole bunch of them and stick them in your deep freezer. That's how I shop. I also go to Walmart. I bought 2 big tomahawk ribeyes 2 weeks ago. They were on sale. Beautiful tomahawk ribeyes, 2 big ones. They were $30 a piece. And that feeds that's 4 servings. It's huge. It's huge. It's beautiful. I keep the bones. I put them in a bone bag. They go in my freezer, and I make bone broth in my crock pot that I use for soups. I mean, I reuse a lot of stuff. Eggs are going up for some reason. I don't know why. But like Rick said, they skyrocketed. I think there was avian flu somewhere in the world. And of course the prices got affected, but you can find sales. But if even you can't afford that, ground beef, eggs are not expensive. And if you're not buying potato chips and corn chips and macaroni and cheese and Doritos and Pringles and M&Ms and TV dinners and ice cream, and I could go on and on. When you're not buying all that stuff, you have that money to put into the meat. So you can buy better quality meats if you want to. But for the people who are really restricted with cash, you talk to Dr. Berry, you can find hot dogs, you can find sausages and pepperonis that don't have the nitrites in them. They only have the nitrates, which are perfectly healthy, that don't have a lot of sugar in them. You just have to read ingredient labels. There's a lot of cheap carnivore food if you're on a budget. Luckily, I can afford something a little bit higher. I don't go crazy and eat prime rib every day, but I look for sales. And they tend to be right in our area, right a day or two before and after a holiday, meat goes on sale because they want to get rid of it in the stores for the holidays. You just have to push everybody out of the way because the stores are jammed. So how about you, Rick? Other than getting free meat from the ducks and the iguanas, where else do you buy your meat?
Well, yeah, that and the parking lot chicken. If you can get one of those, they're a little tough, but it's an acquired taste. I know a lot of people don't like them. No, normally what I'll do, Publix is garbage. It's the worst store around here. It's the ugliest store and the most expensive. I hate Publix like you wouldn't believe. When I was a kid, Publix was the nicest store. It was futuristic. It had windows all the way across the front. It had a big neon sign that said Publix Market with a big jet plane thing on the front. It was a great store. They've remodeled it. It looks like Home Depot. It is the ugliest, most sad-looking place you've ever been in. And the food is garbage. If you like vegetables, they're the nastiest thing. They look like something that came from an empty lot. And the meat, it's nothing special. So you might as well go to Presidente Supermarket, which is the one closest to me. It's a little Cuban place. It's a little run down. And it's not the cheapest. I mean, it depends on what you're buying. Like you said, you got to know what you're getting. So if you're going to get chicken or pork, they're going to mark that down like crazy. But beef, not much. Once in a while, you can get a deal on liver over there. And sometimes you can get a heart or some other tongue or some other parts because they do have the weird stuff. Now, down the street, there's a Winn-Dixie. The Winn-Dixie used to be good, but it's garbage now. The ground beef is like $5 a pound, and it's just crap. They don't have any markdowns anymore. A couple of years ago, I would get ground beef as cheap as 99 cents a pound.
Wow.
But I don't know what's happened. I guess the cost of meat is out of control. there is a Cuban version of Winn-Dixie called Fresco y Mas. Now, Fresco y Mas is interesting because sometimes they have super deals. I got shrimp, medium shrimp for $2.98 a pound. I've gotten ground beef as cheap as $1.60 a pound, but lately it hasn't been that way. And chicken, they have usually as cheap as 48 cents a pound for chicken legs and thighs. The cheapest they've had now was 68 cents a pound. They do also have things like hearts and liver and stuff like that, but it's all kind of, did my camera go out again?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
still hear you though.
I hate this stupid computer. So old. Oh well. Anyway, what I'm going to.
No, you're back. You're back.
Okay. Yeah. So that's another place, and it's close by. It's within a short bike ride. So Presidente and Fresco y Mas are not that far. And then there's a place called Gordon Foods. Now, Gordon Foods is where you could buy the 10-pound, beef, and they've been as cheap as $1.79 a pound for the ground beef.
Wow.
But now the cheapest they have is $2.99 a pound. About a month ago was $2.60 something a pound. And what I'll do when they mark it down, I run over there and I'll buy at least 4 of them. Now, if they mark it real cheap, like when it was $1.99 or $1.79, I bought the whole box. And there's I think 6 or 8 in the box. And I buy it and I stuff it in the freezer. Normally what I'll do, I'll cut it into 2-pound servings, because normally when I eat meat at a meal, it's going to be 2 pounds. That's pretty much my standard meat serving. With breakfast, sometimes I'll have 1 pound. So a lot of times what I'll do when the food is affordable, I'll have 6 eggs and I'll have a pound of meat for breakfast. Then I'll have 2 pounds of meat for lunch and 2 pounds of meat for dinner. And of course, if you add that up, that's 5 pounds of meat a day. Plus, I eat some cheese and yogurt, kefir that I ferment, stuff like that. That's added in. And that's really what it is. Now, when I have chicken, the chicken, of course, is going to be more. So I'll probably have up to 4 pounds of chicken, because you got to take into account the bones. But I do eat everything else, the skin especially, because that's the best part of heart attack chicken. And generally, the only way I cook chicken is in beef tallow or lard. Now, I used to be able to eat for $5 a day on the carnivore diet for years. Up until about 2020, it was $5 a day. Nobody could eat cheaper than me. And since I never bought the crap, the duck food, the snacks, all I would carry with me, like when I was working, I'd carry meat, whether I was teaching at the college or if I was doing manual work. I'd keep the meat in a cooler full of ice, and then all I had to do was fire up the portable grill or fire up the engine and cook it right there. Sometimes if I was working with equipment, I could wrap it in my little, stainless steel clamshell, or even if I had to, I use aluminum foil, chuck the meat on the engine and let it cook while I'm working. But now I have to spend at least $10 a day on the carnivore diet, sometimes as much as $15. But I don't think that's excessive, because I actually walked into one of the McDiarrheas and I looked at the price of what they sell there, and you could blow $15 in that choke and puke in no time, rather than just $15 for the entire day of eating. Because if you think about it, if you bought ground beef for $2.99 a pound and you eat 2 pounds of it, that's $6 right there. And then that additional pound of whatever meat, that may be $3 more, it's $9, and a little bit of some dairy, that's $10.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do it even in this screwed up, fed inflated disaster of an economy. And just imagine if you were one of those people that had maybe a ranch or a farmer nearby, you could buy the whole animal, partition it out yourself. You might actually be able to get an even better deal, because you'll be able to use all those parts. So, and the other thing is that no one has mentioned yet is the lack of waste. Nothing ever gets thrown away because it went bad. And that's the beauty of the carnivore diet. You wonder what's for dinner, you look in the refrigerator, you see what meat is the oldest, and you eat that. And as long as you eat as much as I do, you will never, ever waste anything. The last time the food was wasted in my kitchen is when I was feeding my mom when she was still alive, because she ate all kinds of different things. And if I did eat any fruit or vegetables, they wouldn't be in the refrigerator. They'd be picked straight from the yard and cooked up and eaten, and whatever scraps are left over go right back into the yard. So again, as long as you got a good source for meat, this is the cheapest and the simplest way to eat.
I agree. I totally agree. And before we get to Papa Carnivore, the Publix where I go, I've been to other Publixes, and there's some really nasty, dirty Publix out there. You're absolutely right. The one I go to is beautiful, and it has really great food, and they have some good sales. So it just depends which one in South Florida you're going to. The Winn-Dixie near me, I kind of stopped going because that kind of got crappy. Every store is kind of a hit or miss, and I buy certain things at certain stores. It's interesting of where you can find them. So, but Rick is right. It is way more affordable. It's actually cheaper than the standard American diet because people are eating all that other food. They're eating not just 3 meals a day. They're probably eating 5 meals a day and lots of snacks. If they're really honest with themselves, how much they're eating. And a lot of people go out to restaurants. We have restaurants everywhere. Fast food, low end, medium end, really steep, high end restaurants. Where I live in Boca, it's ridiculous, the prices. And people, they have a lot of money. They spend a fortune. And the food in restaurants is just as bad as the fast food restaurant. It's the same. They're using seed oils to cook. Everything is starch, sugar, and seed oil. Even the most beautifully decorated plate of something, they make it look pretty and charge a lot, and they used seed oil to cook it. And there's probably other bad things in there. All right, Peter, how about you? You're my Eastern buddy there.
So I'm gonna start with a completely different angle.
Okay.
Completely different. I'm not going to talk about food first. I will
right.
talk about food. I used to spend hundreds of dollars a month in prescription medicines. So think about for all of you out there that are going to the doctor, you're going to doctor visits, you have co-pays, you have out-of-pocket expenses, whether it's for over-the-counter medicine, whether it's all the money you're spending, and many people are spending literally hundreds, if not more, dollars a month in, and think of all the time you spend in waiting rooms and in doctor's office, sitting there waiting for the doctor, how much time you lose. Because I know people that literally go to the doctor once a month, once every 2 months, once every 3 months, several times a month. Okay. If you take the time that you lose, if you take the money, the hundreds of dollars that you're spending on all these different things, the aspirin, the ibuprofen I used to take, the Voltaren cream I used to rub into my knees that did practically nothing, that maybe made me 5% better. I take those hundreds of dollars and I'm starting hundreds of dollars ahead of the zero mark where, I'm ahead hundreds of dollars. So I'm essentially eating for free is how I look at it. Or I'm just taking that money and I'm using that for food. So I always joke around with people that, well, I take those hundreds of dollars and I use that to buy steak and ground beef and eggs, essentially. Now, as far as food, there's an app called Flip, F-L-I-P-P, that every carnivore has to get. It is a free app, Flip, F-L-I-P-P. What Flip does is it alerts you to all the sales in your neighborhood. Okay, so it allows you to track all the circulars, all the color circulars on there's Rick, yeah. All the circulars in one place. So you program into it your zip code, you pull up the stores in your area, the grocery stores. And then what you do is select different things that you want to track. So I put in eggs, steak, ground beef, salmon, ribs, scallops, shrimp. I put in whatever, the butter. And I put in the different items that I, really, eggs, whatever, butter. And what it will do is it alerts you to what is on sale every week. Now, Rick, I think I told you in the chat, Fresco y Mas, which is one of my big stores, Cuban grocery store, whatever. They have T-bones for $3.98 a pound on sale right now. Now, I've bought that in the past before. In fact, I just had a $3.98 a pound T-bone tonight for dinner with some butter, lots of butter. In fact, I tried to kill myself with a heart attack, Rick, with so much butter that a human would think I'm crazy eating that much butter in one sitting, because I literally put these big slabs of butter on the side of my plate and I scoop out with the side of my fork, Rick, a big hunk of butter with every single bite of steak, you know? So Fresco and Moss, also Winn-Dixie. I do get a lot of great deals at Winn-Dixie. I've been very happy with them. I just bought T-bones there for $5.98. New York strip steak. I'm a big New York strip and T-bone guy. I bought ribeyes there also for about the same price, $5.98, $6.98. At the most I pay there is about $7.98.
Do 6 eggs, and we're
Up.
just separating them for.
I'm hearing a echo, Nia. Oh, okay. Anyway, so hi Nia. Anyway, I was just talking about the different my steak plate, the Flip app. I think I've told Nia about Flip and all the deals I get. Now there's also a local market here, Rick, called Bravo Supermarkets, and I've been able to get some good deals. $2.99 ground beef I've gotten there in the past. 80-20 ground beef. The Gordon's Food Supply, I did buy the 10-pound tube, and they were $2.69 or something like that recently, a pound. So yeah, I think you can find inexpensive deals on the different things. And think about all the things you're not buying. You know, we talked about the chips and all these different things, but all those vegetables are not cheap. You buy them, and Rick, you're lucky if you eat half of what you buy and then it goes bad and you throw it out. But I see these people loading up their carts with 10 different, 12 different vegetables. Well, that's a couple, $2, $3, $4 with each vegetable. I mean, you buy these things. The fruits, but fruit's not cheap. Fruit is very expensive. And then also the sauces and spices and condiments and sauces that I see people getting. So you add all these things up, and it is so much cheaper to be a carnivore. And also I only eat 2 meals a day. I mean, I know Rick, you eat 3. I'm a 2 meal a day person. So, I used to eat, I don't know, 5, 6 meals a day, constantly snacking, and the cookies, cakes, pies, all the, so I think it's just a really, really inexpensive way to go.
I agree with you both, and I like the point you brought up, Papa Carnivore, about it's not just the finding the sales and the deals and the places to buy carnivore foods that are affordable, but where else are you saving? And you're not spending money at the doctor. You're not spending money on all those medicines and all those pills and all that time lost. And I didn't even think of that as a point. And I'm so glad you brought that up. That's why you guys come on here, because we get to hear everybody's perspectives. So Nia just popped on. Thank you for coming, Nia. I'm going to be on yours tomorrow for Thanksgiving for a while. I hope you're still going to go on. We're talking about, is carnivore too expensive? And we went around and introduced ourselves, and we also just shared our thoughts on, most budget-friendly animal products in our area. So you're in Dallas. Tell us from your area how you buy your foods and how affordable they are.
Yeah, I love this state. I love this area. It's much more affordable in general compared to some other places that I've lived. So I feel like when I ever make videos and put the prices of things that I buy on, I get a lot of comments of like, how are you getting it that cheap and all that kind of stuff. So I know price is relative depending on, where you live and all that kind of stuff. But I find great deals here a lot. And I don't know what all has been said already, but I used to kind of think that going places like Sam's Club or Costco was going to get me the best price per pound on stuff. But honestly, in my local stores here in the area, I get better deals week to week than I do even buying at Sam's. I haven't been to the Costco's here, so I can't say for sure, but we've had a Sam's membership for a number of years, and at least here I go to Tom Thumbs and Kroger every once in a while, but the Tom Thumbs always have a ground beef on sale, usually always have a steak on sale for less than $10 a pound, usually $6 or $7 a pound for ribeyes or T-bones or New York strips or something like that. And usually they'll have a ground beef, either the 80/20 or the lean stuff, for like $4.99, sometimes $3.99 a pound. So when it's real cheap like that, I will buy kind of as many as I can. So really that's kind of been my biggest shift, just from comparing how I used to buy carnivore to how I do now, where I would kind of rely on Sam's and go buy all the stuff there. Now it's more of shopping the sales and looking, at my local stores for things. And then Walmart, to be honest, I know not everybody thinks very highly of Walmart, but it's like, I get the 10-pound rolls of ground beef there. That's the best price out of anywhere. That's consistent. I think I just bought an 80/20 roll for, gosh, was it $37, I think, or $38? So that's pretty cheap. $3.80 a pound, $3.90 a pound, right around that $4 mark, I feel like is pretty good. And that's reliable price there. We eat a lot of ground beef, so we go through those rolls a lot. And yeah, I think, if people are afraid about, the cost of adding more meat in, I think initially, yeah, I think you guys have probably mentioned already, if you keep all the other foods in your diet and then you add a lot more meat, yeah, your cost is going to go up. But really, I've seen a savings as well. We don't go out to eat as much, although we still do sometimes because Ben likes to go out to eat. But there's only like a limited number of places we can go to, like Buffalo Wild Wings, because they fry their wings in tallow, or the Korean barbecue place. That there's a couple Korean barbecues that I just get plain raw meat with nothing on it. And so I can trust those places. But other than that, we're not spending money on fast food. We're not spending money all these other little places. So we end up saving. And I find that I can always get good deals around my area. And I think, it's a no-brainer when it comes to price, really. It's cheaper.
One other thing I forgot to mention, think how much money people are spending at Starbucks and places like that. I mean, the amount of money that I see, even like my daughter likes Starbucks, she, gets her Frappuccino, whatever the hell she's buying, chai latte, whatever she calls it. But that thing could be $8-10 for, I mean, how much meat, Rick? $8-10. That's a lot of meat. At 68 cents a pound, that's a lot of chicken thighs or chicken legs, So, I can go on and on. If I sat here and thought of all the stuff that I'm no longer getting, but that's just one thing. Think of these people that are going to Starbucks and getting 2 different Starbucks a day. That could easily be $15 for 2 Starbucks in a day.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that when I started this this particular dialogue. It's not just what you're buying; it's what you're not buying that you're saving the money. And a lot of people who go on the carnivore diet, they stop drinking wine and beer, because beer is liquid bread pretty much, and you're saving a ton of money. Not drinking alcohol and not drinking coffee. If you laid off the coffee, some people carnivore still drink coffee, but you can make it at home so much cheaper if you still have to have it. I'm not going to judge anybody for still having it, because I used to drink it and I loved it. But you save money when you don't. So it's actually much cheaper to be a carnivore, because we're not even eating 3 meals a day and snacks as well. It's the frequency, it's what you're not eating, and it's what you're spending your money, what you're investing your money in. I like to think about is where the money goes. I'm not just spending money on meat and food like I did before. I'm investing in my health for the short term, the midterm, and for my long-term longevity. I'm investing in being healthy. That's less doctor visits. That's less, medicines, because I am a lot healthier. Absolutely. A1 Savage, I put this up on the screen a while back. Let me put it back up there again. Says, I bought a half beef this year for 297.5 pounds. Oh, it was 297.5 pounds. The farmer said it was a small cow. I got the tongue and it was small. I felt bad, but I prayed for that little cow all last summer, and I was grateful. And then A1 Savage says it was approximately, when you added it up, about $4 a pound plus the butcher fee. So, and you're getting all the different pieces from the beef cattle, and if all you need is a freezer to store it in. So I was hoping Christy was going to be on, because she told me last time that she's been buying a quarter or a half a cow, and I was kind of wanted to get that angle too. Anybody here on the screen, have you ever gone to a sustainable farm and bought meat not in a store but from a rancher?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to have dairy
You
farms
did.
here, and what do you think they did with their old cattle? You know, they would sell them. There wasn't a lot of meat, but it was something, and it was super cheap. So
Okay.
they got too old to produce. Well, they turned into meat. Now the only thing they grow here is these stupid condominiums and townhouses and all this other crap that they got packed in here.
Yeah, you're
Lousy
right.
shopping centers and
Yeah.
just nonsense. But
We
we
have
had a lot of
lots of strip malls here in Florida.
Oh,
Even up where I am, I know it's really dense down there in Miami, but even up here in Boca, it's just it's disappearing. It's more and more shopping centers and strip malls and parking lots and buildings, and we have lots of stores. And so that's my next step, is actually to go look and see if I can get my big chest thermos thing, put all the ice in it, put it in the back of my car, and drive to a farm and see if I can buy a quarter or a half a cow from somebody. I've never done it. I haven't done it yet. It's going to be a drive, because I don't think there's anybody close to me, which is probably why I haven't done it so far. But I know I can save a ton of money. What's cool about meat is it doesn't go bad. You put that stuff in the freezer and it lasts for a long time. I take things out 2 or 3 days ahead of time and let it thaw slowly in the refrigerator or on the countertop a little faster. And I plan my meals day in advance. It's always meat. I never have meat that goes bad. I still smell my meats when they're thawed out and I open them up, and they don't smell bad. And what Rick said, fruits and vegetables, they go fast. You got to use them or you lose them. And so there's so many pluses to eating carnivore foods. They're more affordable. They last long if you have refrigeration in a freezer. Absolutely delicious. They fill you up. They're healthy. You're investing in your future. Just amazing.
Oh, I wanted to also mention, I told you that I just got the Instapot today.
Uh-huh.
And stew meat is inexpensive. Just, what they call stew meat. It's basically like cut up chuck, essentially. But chuck steak, brisket, and stew meat is great to throw that right into the slow cooker. Throw a stick of butter in there with some salt. And Kerry from Homestead How, that's what he does. He buys that stew meat I guess he buys it at Costco, and he just throws that right into a slow cooker overnight, puts a stick of butter in there and some Malden smoked sea salt or some Redmond salt, and that's it. And he said it's absolutely delicious. So I can't wait to try that. And that's inexpensive stuff. You're muted, John.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to try that. I saw that in some of the stores near me. They have these large packages, and they either call it stew meat, meat for churrasco, it's called, or it's just little cut up pieces of stuff. And I just never bought it. And it is lower in price. I don't know if it was tender, but I do have an Instapot, even though I don't like to use it. Maybe I should try that.
Another place I forgot that I go to all the time is Aldi. If you have an Aldi near you.
Absolutely, yeah.
I forgot to mention, that's where I get my grass-fed Irish butter. It's just like Kerrygold. Right now it's $3.35 a stick for an 8-ounce stick. And, I go through one of those every day or every other day. So I'm and then they also have decent deals on that stew meat, different chicken, different things. And I get my heavy whipping cream there that I use in my coffee.
Aldi's great. We have an Aldi. It's hit or miss at our Aldi in West Boca. You go in there and sometimes it's a disaster. They didn't clean it up. And I almost don't want to shop. I go in there, the meats are, it depends on when the deliveries came, And I've noticed also in my area, if you go on a Sunday or a Monday, the shelves are empty.
Yeah.
If you go Tuesday morning, they're empty. They tend to come and deliver in our area. You can find the delivery date for your area. They come out, everything's stocked with the freshest stuff, and you can fill it. It's like that with our Walmart too. We'll go meat shopping at Walmart, and I push the cart, man. I walk out of there with $300 worth of meat, and it's a lot of meat. And it all goes into the deep freeze, and then the regular freeze, and some in the refrigerator. Lasts a long time. Really good. Another question I have here. for cost. Now, some of the people who are carnivores for a while, we try, if we can afford it, we know that grass-fed and grass-finished beef, or if you can get pork that's that way, and chicken that's pastured, is so much healthier than, well, not the beef as much, but if you can get grass-fed and finished, it's just another step up that's healthier. I can't find it very much in the stores, and when I do see it, the price is absolutely ridiculous. I drop it like a hot potato. I'm like, you're crazy. This is $27 a pound? No way, right? So what are your thoughts on grass-fed, grass-finished, where to find it? Have you had any? Do you like it? Do you think it's worth it? Papa, you're first now because Rick
Okay.
changed his location there.
I actually tried it, like at both at Walmart and Aldi and a couple other places. I tried the grass-fed steak, and I also tried the grass-fed ground beef. First of all, I didn't taste any difference at all in the ground beef. It might as well have been the same as any other ground beef. And for the price, I can get ground beef for a fraction of the price. And as far as the steaks, I did not like the taste of the grass-fed steak. It tasted like dirt to me. It didn't taste good. It wasn't as fatty. I like it really marbled and fatty. And when they add the grain at the end, they're eating grass for the most part their whole lives, these cows. It's just at the end when right before they do them in, they give them that grain, they fattens them up, and that's where you get all that wonderful fat, that white, beautiful fat. So I go with the regular stuff, and like I said, I'm getting stuff between $3.99 for T-bones a pound, all the way up to maybe $8, $7.99 a pound. So you can't beat that, and you're never going to find grass-finished Panda Massage, whatever, at that price. So I just don't do it.
All right, I kind of agree with you. I used to use Butcher Box years ago when I first started keto, and I would get grass finished. So the cows ate grass their entire life, and they were slaughtered after they didn't have any grain, supposedly.
Right.
And the fat was yellow. And there was much less of it, and it was gamier tasting, and I didn't like it as much. I like grain finished beef. I like the flavor of it better. Right.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to chicken and pork, it's supposed to be so much healthier for you if you can find a chicken that was raised, that was eating naturally, like the pasture-raised eggs, the yolk is orangier, and it's so much better for you, more choline, more omega-3s, less omega-6s. Pork, I just don't know how to find pork that was fed better. I might have to go to a farm to get better pork. But when I buy my salmon, salmon or shrimp, when I buy it, personally, I'm either not going to eat it or I'm going to buy wild caught. I just choose not to eat farm raised fish because I've seen too many videos showing how they raise them, and it just disgusts me to see it. I don't want to put that in my mouth. But when it comes to beef, because of the rumen and the 3 other chambers in their stomach, a lot of the impurities get filtered out, the glyphosate. And so we're okay with beef. What are your thoughts on that, Nia?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've tried grass-fed. The last time I had anything grass finished was I found a package at Sam's of just like grass. They were pre-made patties, basically. And I didn't like the way they tasted either. And it's sad because I wish I did. But yeah, it had a very distinct flavor, and I ate them, but it wasn't what I was used to, for sure. So I think I'd have to get used to it. And I think, like echoing to what you've all said, I think really, the eggs and the chicken and the fish and stuff like that is the most important to get as high quality as you can afford. But yeah, for salmon and stuff here, I try to always get sockeye salmon or wild caught regular salmon. And we just buy the best eggs we can afford. And then we just get the cheap ground beef and the cheap red meat, basically. And I buy, mostly regular bacon around here because everybody eats that for breakfast. And I just get the cleanest one that I can find. That's a good price. And Every once in a while, if they have a good deal on pork belly, I'll buy that and slice it myself, and that's really, really good. So, yeah, I think eventually I'd like to move towards, even if it's a grain-fed animal, like buying it from somebody, who ranches locally, because I do think that's important eventually, that we try to support local ranchers and local farmers and bring some of this back to the local, community where we're actually feeding the people within our own radius kind of thing, because that's where all this has gotten out of control, is we've just lost that connectedness to our food. I mean, raising a kid now, it's like she thinks food comes from the grocery store, and like I try to explain it to her. It's like, people grow this, and we go to the farmer's market and we talk about it and stuff. But, it's like, it's just, we're so removed from the actual process of what it takes to bring food in and have it all prepared for us to buy, that I think that's one of the big reasons why we're all, sick and having to go, take a step back and go back to what is the most natural way to do things. So I'm definitely for it. I'm definitely for, pasture raised, healthy, well-treated animals. But I also realize that we can't switch overnight and just kind of go all the way to that, or people would starve. So those are my thoughts.
Good points. Good points. Mr. Rick.
Yes.
So I know that you don't do grass-fed, grass-finished. You get what comes up your driveway. But have you tried it? I'm curious of your thoughts.
The local cattle that we had here were all pretty much grass raised because it was the cheapest way to go. Grain down here is not really a thing. Of course, now the only thing they raise are long pig, which are basically humans, because they seem to have a CAFO operation. They got them crammed in these stupid apartment buildings and, in the shed and in everybody's extra room. They're all over the place. But years ago, we had these pastures, and it was all basically, they did supplement them with other things, but basically they ate the tropical grasses that we have here. Now, the best beef I've ever tasted is not grain finished, but fruit finished. Fruit finished cattle taste the best. If you like fatty meats, a lot of people here used to have mango groves, orange groves. They had avocados and all these fruits. And, when you pick this fruit to sell, a lot of it isn't up to standards. There's a lot of this fruit that may be distorted, somewhat ugly. It may be too ripe. And they just throw that on the ground. And a lot of times cattle would graze these groves because there was some grass and there was some fruit. So they turn them loose over there. And also even tomatoes and all this other stuff that was no good, they would dump out in these fields and give it to the cattle. So a lot of times when they were trying to fatten up the cattle, they would eat a bunch of mangoes, avocados, and citrus fruits and whatever. And they put on a good layer of fat. Now, they're not like the grain. The grain fed tends to have more of a light colored fat. This is a darker fat, but it's very fatty. Because you know how it is. You could be like Paul Saladino eating fruit all the time. That's definitely going to put on the fat, especially when you're a cow. We also have a grass here, which you may see in an empty lot. It's called elephant grass. It looks like sugar cane, but it's thinner. And it's very similar to sugar cane. And that's another thing they used to feed cattle, some of the sugar cane waste. And again, that's full of sugar as well. So when they eat that, they put on fat rapidly. But I've had the grass-fed cattle, and they basically taste like canal duck. So if you go over to the canal and you grab a duck and you cook it up straight from the canal, that's what our grass-fed cattle used to taste like. It has a more metallic taste. But you know me, when I prepare my duck, I always grab the duck and I put him into a special duck pen. And he gets his time with the females. He gets a lot of food, as much fruit and veggies as I can give him to fatten him up. And after about a month on Rick's duck food diet, Mr. Ducky's going to go from super lean and tough to kind of fatty and more tender. So it's really the same thing. But that flavor is unique. Now, I have had grass-fed steaks recently. I had a friend of mine give me some. A lot of times what will happen is when somebody has meat that's a little old, they'll give it to me to give to the animals. But when I examine it, if it looks halfway good and it doesn't smell bad, I'll eat it myself. I haven't died yet. I've never had food poisoning in my life. And, as was mentioned earlier about all the medications, I don't even have a medicine cabinet. My medicine cabinet has a couple of old Dixie cups in it and a bunch of dust. There's no aspirin. There's no anything else in there. Can you believe I've never been on a prescription medication in my life? And the last time I went to a doctor was in 1996. So I guess I never even think about those things. If I got a headache, that means that I ate something that wasn't right or I didn't get enough sleep. And if I feel stressed or upset, it's probably because I'm catching the flu. And I get the flu about 3 times out of the year. But other than that, if I get sick, I don't take anything for it. I remember my parents used to have Alka-Seltzer when I was a kid. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. That kind of thing. And then they had NyQuil and DayQuil, and they had the Vicks vaporizer and all that stuff. I actually found one of those in the junk that I had here, but I don't have any of that. And again, when it comes to the meat, the grass-fed, to me, it has a unique taste. I don't mind it. It tastes like canal duck straight from the canal. But when you think about it, and the way I think about it, for what they charge for the grass-fed meat, I don't see it as being justified, because when I was younger, always the grass-fed stuff was the cheaper stuff. If you went to a steakhouse, they used to brag it was corn-fed or grain finished or whatever. And every high-end steakhouse, they used to see it right in the front. They had that. I mean, even places like Beefsteak Charlie's, which wasn't high-end, they would brag about that. Or Victoria Station, the one they used to have at Dateland and they have by the airport. You probably remember some of those places. But anytime they had a steak, they would always boast, that it was grain finished or that it was corn fed, because those were the steaks that tasted the best. So again, grass fed's great, but I mean, I like the flavor, but most people prefer grain finished.
Yeah, flavor is definitely better, and I've heard that from a lot of people. All right, so what about processed foods like bacon, sausage, bologna, salami? What are your thoughts on enjoying some of those from time to time? When I go, if I'm buying any of that, I love pepperoni. I make sure that I read the ingredients, and I bring my reading glasses, and they're all different kinds, and some of them are filthy with sugar and soybeans. They add oils, they add MSG, monosodium glutamate. It's amazing what they'll add to these things. And then I'll find one that's really clean and I'll get it. And what I've learned recently, and I did a video on one of my my morning uploads, is the difference between nitrates and nitrites. And they both occur naturally in nature, but when they add nitrites with an I to bacon and to processed foods, they do that to keep the color stable and to preserve it more. And that, when in the proper conditions under high heat, that can be cancer causing. Nitrates is basically celery juice. Nitrates can lower your blood pressure. There's nothing wrong with nitrates. So when I buy my pepperonis or my bacons, if they say celery powder, celery juice, or nitrates with an A, I know it's okay to put in my cart. So I do like, and that's some of the things I bring on a plate when I go to somebody's house: lunch meat, cheeses, deviled eggs that I make myself, pieces of meat. I bring that, but I make sure that I control. I buy the stuff with the cleanest ingredients. What do you guys think about the processed meats?
I eat bacon, sausage. I try and look for clean sausage, but I get the bacon at Aldi, the thick slice. It's like the Wright's bacon, that real thick, heavy duty stuff.
Like Applewood. Yeah.
I don't have any problem with that. But as far as process, that's about it. I maybe sometimes some liverwurst or Braunschweiger, but that's really it. I don't do too much. I eat pretty much steak, ground beef, eggs, some chicken here and there, pork once in a while, but more like straight up meat,
Okay. Nia, do you do any processed meats at all?
Myself personally, I try to stay away from them. But I do buy them. My little one likes salami, and like I said, the bacon. Everybody eats bacon for breakfast, so we, I just try to find the cleanest bacon that I can. That's a reasonable price, and they have a lot of uncured stuff here that is reasonably, affordable as well. So sometimes I'll buy those, but really it's just salami. And then every once in a while we'll get deli meat,
Mhm.
like for picnic, if we're out and like we're trying to get something, on the road to eat. That's usually an easy thing to do, is just run into whatever store and grab some, they like ham or roast beef or something like that. But it's not something we do regularly. The only thing, I guess, sausage would be the other thing that, like, my kid really likes brats, and like different types of sausage. So I will buy those sometimes. But really, it's like if if there's any seed oil on the label, it doesn't go in the cart.
Right.
Like there's a hard line there. And then sometimes it's like, well, if there's a little sugar added or there's a couple little things here and there, like if it's an occasional thing, then I don't mind it. But it's not stuff that we are eating every day or eating multiple times a week. It's like, maybe once a month, twice a month, something like that. So it's just very, very minute amounts of any added stuff. But seed oils is where I draw the line.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Rick?
I generally don't do the processed meats because they cost too much. I mean, bacon is way too expensive. If I'm going to have pork, I'll usually get the pork shoulder when it's cheap, and I'll eat that. But I mean, occasionally when I have it, I do put bacon in the heart attack burger. And I've had the ham I like, but the problem is that most of the hams, they're that disgusting sweet ham,
Yeah.
which I can't. But sometimes it's so cheap. I've seen the ham as cheap as 68 cents a pound. But occasionally they have the one that's just cured, that doesn't have any sweetness to it. It's like just a cured ham and it's smoked or whatever. And I'll buy that because, I mean, sometimes 60, 70, 80 cents a pound. I mean, you got a whole ham for like $9 or less. It's very hard to resist. And the thing is, I don't want it to go bad, so I'll start eating it way too much. I mean, one time I got one of those 10-pound hams, and I think I knocked it out in 2 days. So I think I went a little bit overboard on that. But, I do like it. But the other processed meats, I mean, the salami and the sausage, I don't really see the point of it. I used to make my own sausage, and that was really good. I have the little sausage stuffer. It's like a meat grinder, and you crank it, and you put the intestines on there, and then you can make your own sausages. But it's been a long time since I've done that. And everybody doesn't like the sausage I make because there's no spice to it. It's basically just salted meat, mixed meats. I like to mix pork and beef, and sometimes I'll put duck or some other exotic. I've even put iguana in sausage just to make a mix of flavors. And then basically I just cook it. A lot of times I'll boil it. Sometimes I'll roast it, but that's about it. When it comes to the other things like bologna or whatever, I used to eat that when I was a kid because that was the only option I had. I would never willingly eat that stuff. It's like Spam. Spam is just way too salty, and I don't know. I think there's more than meat in Spam because if I give it to a cat, they won't eat it. So I always say if a cat won't eat it, I won't eat it. So yeah, the processed meats don't excite me. And again, some people like the pepperoni and salami, sure, but I'm not. What am I going to do with that? When I make a heart attack pizza, it's usually ground beef and other whole meats. I don't really do the pepperoni thing. I don't really like it. It's just one of those things. You might find shrimp on my pizza, but you won't find the pepperoni or the sausage unless I make the sausage myself. And as you know, any pizza that I make is deep fried from chicken and eggs and cheese. So it's a very unique flavor on its own. But again, it's probably better to eat the processed meats than to eat the snack foods. I mean, you're talking earlier about corn chips and potato chips and that stuff's disgusting. I don't even know how anybody can eat that. The only one of those foods that I can eat and I get bored with it after 2 handfuls is popcorn because it's something you can grow. I mean, I've grown the popcorn in my own yard. I use lard to pop it and I flood it with butter and then it's edible. But like I said, after the second handful, it's like, I don't want any more of this. I'll just have a piece of meat instead. But my friends love it. And I do have a popcorn machine in my living room. So when the place was a little less cluttered and we get together for a movie night, then I'd fire up the popcorn. Everybody liked it. And they're saying, oh, well, you don't use vegetable oil. I said, no, I use lard. And they're thinking, how can you make popcorn with lard? But yeah, that's the way I did it. So, but snacking, it's a no-no. And again, the processed meats, they're okay for some people, but generally not for me.
All right.
Well, you'll find me tomorrow night on Carnivore Mastermind. Nia's channel,
I'll
Nia's
be there
Way.
too. Good.
So I recommend everyone go to Nia's Way, Carnivore Teacher, this channel. You'll find me everywhere. I'm on Carrie's channel. I was just recently interviewed by Carrie at Homestead How. I think there's over 400 comments on my interview at this point. So if anyone wants to see my story, it's about an hour long. Go do that. But I'm just all around. My channel is Papa Carnivore 15. I don't really have any videos there, but eventually maybe. But you'll find me. I'm pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
I am Nia. Nia's Way is my channel. And I have come here. We got to show off our matching outfits. I have a mini me for matching leopards today. So,
Hey,
Mother.
we make, so we do a live stream on Thursday and I do one by myself on Sundays. And this little tater pops in and makes commentary and we do all kinds of videos. And I am on Instagram. I mean, I have an Instagram, but I'm never on it. So maybe I'll get around to that someday. But YouTube is my favorite platform. So.
Yep. And you'll find me only on YouTube. I don't do anything else. Rick, Charger Mopar, 40-year carnivore. I'm also on Nia's live that she has on Thursday. So you'll see me tomorrow. And hopefully in the near future, when I have equipment that actually works like it should, I'll be doing some regular videos myself from my own little home studio. But then again, I'm not sure how many people want to watch a carnivore quack anyway, but it's up to you. If you want to, just look for me.
All right. And Peter, Papa Carnivore, you and I, let's get together and hook up with Rick. And maybe we'll pick a time on the calendar and maybe we can all agree on one and maybe take a drive down. Would you be up for that in the future, Rick?
Well, I guess if I can clean up all the junk that's around here.
We'll just film a gathering. It's up to you. Just a thought. Just want to plan. I think that
Bring
would be
your
really
bring
cool.
your camera, John.
I will. I would. All right, everybody. I want to thank you. I'm going to end the stream here. Have a great night.
See ya.
Bye.